There's been a lot of discussion about what's the best Grand Prix Cup in Mario Kart World, and depending on who you ask, they might tell you the Leaf Cup or even the Special Cup. Don't trust anyone that says the Shell Cup. But after playing every Grand Prix Cup around 4 to 5 times, I believe the Banana Cup is the best cup in Mario Kart World. Taking us through the coastal and jungle region of the game, this cup is the journey from Peach Beach to Salty Speedway, Dino Dino Jungle, and finally Great Question Block Ruins. In today's video, I'm going to look at the following criteria to give my reasons on why I have this take. These are the tracks themselves, how well the intermission / theming is for the cup, and finally, how well it compares to every other Grand Prix in Mario Kart World. This is where I want to emphasize more than usual that at the end of the day, this is just an opinion, and if you aren't convinced by the end of the video, I'd love to see what you believe is the best Mario Kart World Cup. But with that said, I have one final thing worth noting before we can dissect the first track of the Banana Cup. Just so that we have a heads up, the video might be a little bit outdated because I have been editing this for nearly 2 months. GCN Peach Beach is the opener for this cup and the first track located in the coastal region, the second being Salty Speedway, one of the game's 2 GCN originals, whereas Dino Dino Jungle, another track from this cup, got more of a glow up in the looks department more than anything else. Peach Beach has been expanded upon to take place around a castle themed around, well, Princess Peach. As a matter of fact, the entirety of the course is based on Mont St. Michael, forgive me if I pronounced it wrong, which is generally a very welcome change. The new castle and by proxy town also add a new route that changes its layout every 3 laps. This overall helps Peach Beach feel like a deserving choice to be updated for a new game, and as we'll get in a bit with Dino Dino Jungle, makes the GCN tracks that much more exciting. You'll start out as normal with the original Peach Beach, taking you downhill into the first set of item boxes and making a right towards the big open beach area of the track with cataquacks on the coastline as well as a Yoshi stand really far away, while in the water there are Shy Guys on jet skis. And if you go really far left, you could access a boost panel, although I'm pretty sure this isn't faster at all. Something I really like about this course is how it starts off early in the morning. It makes for a great atmosphere, and the pinkish clouds from the morning sun combos really nicely with the obviously pink architecture. Even the sand looks a bit pink, although I could just be going a little crazy. Moving past the beach section, you'll enter the next set of item boxes, take a few empty turns here and there, before finally going uphill where the track would normally loop back, repeat 2 more times, and you're done. But actually no, you'll turn slightly left and enter the castle. Come on guys, this is literally the coolest thing ever. I haven't heard nearly enough people talk about how awesome it is that Peach Beach got this much of a glow up when, mind you, Peach Stadium's Shell Cup variant exists in the same game. But the best part about this new route is that I'm 99% sure they only added it just because of the free roam mechanic. Think about it, in Double Dash, Peach Beach was the second track in the Mushroom Cup, and in Wii the first course in the Shell Cup. Had this been in something like 8, there would have been no reason to add a whole new different route to this level, but in World, that's a different story since the regular route is a very simple one, and it doesn't make for a very exciting course to roam in terms of free roam. Regardless of the reasoning behind the new route, one thing's for sure. It's cool, and it's time to dissect it. As you ascend up the castle, you'll make a few left and right turns into a little town-like area where you can wall ride across these rooftops, and I'm pretty sure this is faster than a normal path. Here's a fun fact for you, but I discovered if you hit the bell, it actually rings. Afterwards, you'll make a sharp right and head towards the first glider section of the cup. This will take you through the open area where you could ride walls for style points. Unfortunately, lap 3 is where the track begins to slightly suffer. First of all, if you do attempt to wall ride, you'll inevitably fall down very, and I mean very, slowly and lose a ton of momentum. Next, you'll enter a water section, which a lot of people have mixed feelings about in this game. And hey, look at that, I unlocked Cataquack. Fortunately, there are boost pads that definitely help, but the majority of this final section is open water with nothing to do. This ending definitely leaves a lot to be desired and stops Peach Beach from being the best starter track in Mario Kart World.
The fuck?
But in spite of that, I still love how much Peach Beach was revamped. Compared to every other starter track, I'd say Peach Beach is the 3rd best one, right after Acorn Heights and Cheap Cheap Falls. One last note, but the song for this track is a really fun listen. I have it in my music to use videos playlist because of how good it is. But with that said, I think I've expressed how well I like this track. We'll place it up in a solid B tier. An unspoken rule of Mario Kart is you never start with your best, and while it is the worst track in the cup, let that sink into a testament of how good the rest of the roster is. Now, let's begin the journey to the next track, Salty Speedway. I would of course believe you, the viewer, are aware of intermissions, so with that said, our first intermission will take us through a long straightaway. Fortunately though, there's some cataquacks here that actually serve as decent obstacles. And yes, I'm being serious too. This one right here beat the crap out of me. After lap 1, lap 2 will take us alongside the beach side with side steppers in your way. Here you can take a pretty cool mushroom shortcut, swim past some cheap trick on ramps, and finally, you'll begin to arrive at the coastal town of Salty Speedway. Overall, while it is a fast intermission, the coastal theming really does help this intermission stand above the others, as a lot of them fall to the curse of being an open highway. Hell, even the Leaf Cup, often regarded as the best cup in the game, has its respective intermissions go through regular roads, so any scenery change will do nicely in a game infested with the regular old road. But alas, it's time to discuss the second track of the Banana Cup. Overall, I'd say Salty Speedway is an excellent continuation after Peach Beach. First of all, it's set in a town called Lagoon City, which somewhat resembles Venice, Italy. Wouldn't you know it, the penguins of Madagascar were also in Venice. The town has a canal that you go through, much like its real-world inspiration, and interestingly enough, is heavily Birdo themed with a mermaid statue based on her. Anyways, it's time to go through the layout, as it's pretty, fantastic. I'm sorry. You'll start by driving through a canal before making your way up an ascended slope. Then you'll go past some stairs before entering a plaza with some off-road to cut through. It is worth noting right here that if you use the guardrails up here to get onto these guardrails, you could have taken a pretty sick shortcut. Anyways, the normal progression of this track would have the player make a sharp right and enter a large canal with some streets to drive on to go faster. But here, it's where one of my favorite shortcuts can be found. You see, if you trick on this wall, ride this rail, and trick towards this wall, not only do you skip the slower route down below, but you could also access a glider that will take you above the water. From here, we'll see a repeat of Beach Peach's open water sections. Not a good look. At least with Peach Beach, there were Shy Guys on jet skis present, but here, there's nothing. It's nothing! Up to this point, I had loved everything about this track, but having another open water section really does hurt how well praised this course could have been. I'm not selling this as the best cup, am I? But regardless of the mediocre ending, Salty Speedway is still a pretty fun track, and it wraps up the coastal section of the cup very nicely. In case you were wondering, I think the track song is a pretty good one as well. It's just that in a game with over 200 songs, it does tend to be a bit forgetful, but for me personally, that doesn't take anything away from it. I'll put this track at a solid A tier. It just misses the mark of S tier, but that's because of the final section of this track. Everything else is wonderful. Alright, what's up on the list to talk about? Oh, it's the SPINOSAURUS! The intermission will begin somewhat normally with you driving through a sandy road with cars passing by. Mechanically, it is just another road to take you from place to place, but I like the scenery change. Beginning lap 2, however, you officially leave the coastal region and begin making your way through the jungle region. The way you get to the track now is by driving past a collection of massive waterfalls threatening to push you off the edge. Come on guys, this is literally the coolest thing ever again. There are also some rocks here that could either be tricked on or act as obstacles in your way. This makes actually driving through here feel way more dynamic. This is something that, in my opinion, the cup does really well with its intermissions. Even if you're going through a straight line, it always feels like there's genuinely something to do that doesn't feel like an attempt to keep the player engaged. I mean, come on, you're driving through a giant waterfall while tricking back to back, for crying out loud. You gotta admit, this is cool. After that insane spectacle, lap 3 officially begins with you entering the prehistoric woods. You'll be greeted by brachiosaurs stomping their way across the road, and to help you dodge them, you'll trick off ramps and slowly but surely approach Dino Dino Jungle. After that, you'll take a sharp right turn and begin driving towards Dino Dino Jungle. Anyways, here's a fun but useless fact. This video was originally going to be about how weird the Lightning Cup is, but then I ended up watching Jurassic World Rebirth, and well, listen, this is going to be the only time I get to talk about it, so let's make the most of it. Jurassic World Rebirth, for me at least, was a pretty good watch. I went with my mom, dad, sister, grandma, and an uncle that I have, and wow. Listen, I think the best thing it does is give us some badass dinosaur sequences. Like, genuinely, these are some of the best in the franchise, and it's not even up for discussion. The plot is where everyone feels it's a bit mixed, but honestly, I'm just so grateful that it was better than Dominion. You know what? Editor, play a fire edit of Jurassic World Rebirth right now! But in all seriousness though, Dino Dino Jungle might be one of the greatest Mario Kart remakes of all time. You see, the original GCN version was always awesome, but turning it into one big Jurassic Park reference? I mean, you heard the way I was rambling about Rebirth, you could understand why I think this was a genius evolution. But that's not all. The track is littered with way more dinosaurs than ever before. Obviously, we have the brachiosaurs roaming around, but we also got the mighty Triceratops, the fearsome T-Rex, and even a ruthless plesiosaur. There's also a pterodactyl here somewhere. I just can't find him in the footage. But anyways, that's all I can say about the looks of this track without going into the gameplay. You'll start by immediately making a sharp left before zooming past some of the aforementioned dinosaurs. If you trick off this ramp onto this rail, you could gain a speed boost. You'll make a couple of sharp turns before having 3 options. A, go far left to the longest path. B, go right for a faster route. And C, skip both of these paths completely and ride the plesiosaur. Whatever you decide, it'll culminate into you entering the laboratory section of the track. The entrance of the laboratory is actually called Dino Dino Laboratory, which implies that at one point, this facility was actually active, but after the dinosaurs escaped, it got run down and became a,
Say the line, Bart!
a Dino Dino Jungle. Going through here, there's some grind rails to your sides that can help you reach a higher route to avoid the chaos down below. Alternatively, you could take the normal road filled with geysers and witness the emergence of the Tyrannosaur. By far the best thing you could do in this section is cut through the grass using a mushroom to get an insane shortcut. Now this right here might be the most notorious shortcut in Mario Kart World because of, well, how many content creators have pointed it out. But, I mean, for good reason, it's a pretty good shortcut to know. After that, you'll jump over a broken bridge, make a left turn, trick on a few more ramps, and end the race on such a high note. Overall, is it really gonna surprise anyone when I say Dino Dino Jungle is a phenomenal track? Nah, I don't think so, because it's a banger track. And speaking of banger things, this theme is a banger song. I'm not too sure what they added, but something about the remix makes it feel grander, if you will. Now this track is an easy S tier as one of, if not the game's best retro track. But with that said, it's time to finally end the Banana Cup and discuss the last track, Great Question Block Ruins. Oh, Great Question Block Ruins. Where do I even begin? To get there, we of course have to drive out of the prehistoric jungle into the proper jungle area of the cup. You'll start by driving across a dirt road with cars passing by. After a certain point, you'll have to evade the T-Rex as it charges onto the track. This is just more use of the dinosaurs, which is really cool to see. Now while you drive, the scenery will begin to change as you enter the jungle ruins beginning lap 2. This is where the all-iconic piranha plants will begin to appear as obstacles to your sides as you drive by. Because the course is in a grassy area, you could cut through a lot of it with some mushrooms. You'll make your way through some more ruins with some ramps to trick off of and enter a giant pond with some massive blocks that could be tricked off of to hit some question blocks for coins. From here, you only have one option. Go up to these boost panels and fly up to the floating ruins. This will lead into one of the most cinematic moments in the game as you soar towards the track. Visually, the sky ruins are among some of the best in the game. And in universe too, it totally checks out how these ruins are in the sky since question blocks are pretty well known to float above the ground. Honestly, I think basing an entire course around the idea of driving through a giant question block is extremely creative. Across the track, you can find things like golden ruins, statues, and blocks all scattered throughout. You can find lots of plants and trees and a bunch of these cool flags within the scenery. You remember the pond that we drove across earlier, and by extension the waterfalls back on the intermission to Dino Dino Jungle? Well, the water source for them is none other than Great Question Block Ruins. Really? This is so damn cool. And weirdly enough, it connects the cup even more than before. It gives the track a grand feeling throughout, and when combined with the obvious cloud theming of the track, it almost feels like you're in some sort of ancient heaven, if you will. But with that said, I think it's time to properly dissect the track as we have a lot to unpack here. Why, you may be asking? That's because Great Question Block Ruins might be the most complex and intricate track in this game. Upon your arrival on the track, you'll immediately have to turn right and enter the Great Question Block of Great Question Block Ruins. This makes for a cool set piece as you drive down a slope while surrounded by gold blocks. Not too long after, you'll drive out the giant structure and will trick onto this ramp and... Albert, for the love of God, stop putting memes and get to the point! After tricking onto the earlier ramp, you'll take After tricking off the earlier ramp, you'll take a tight left turn and be given two options. A, you could trick down here and take the path normally, or B, you could attempt to ride the walls, and if you get it right, you'll gain access to a glider that can take you above a lot of the track. Overall, this is pretty cool and gives the track even more complexity. Back down on the ground level, however, after tricking off the cloud, you'll once again come across a fork in the road. You could either go down the main road and take a right turn and potentially get a boost from this boost panel. You could even go far left off of this cloud into a boost panel that can give you access to this cloud up here. And finally, you could attempt to take this grind roll to help with a certain shortcut. Hold up, Council of the Kings. Before you go crazy, let me explain. Obviously, this is the most well-known shortcut in Mario Kart World. And is it as cool as people make it out to seem? Yes. Yes, it is. Taking the regular route, you'll bounce off some clouds through golden rings before landing on the final platform. Making a sharp right will lead you to the final glider section of the cup. You'll drive through clouds that can boost you, and from there, the journey has finally concluded. Between being such an epic finale and just overall being a very technically interesting track, Great Question Block Ruins makes for an epic end to the Banana Cup, especially because the cup ends at nighttime where the flames of the torches burn bright against the night sky. It just gives the track even more of a cinematic feel to it, and it makes the cup feel worth playing. This is an easy S tier for me. But now, I think it's time to wrap things up with the closing thoughts. This will make or break whether or not you guys are convinced that this is the best cup in Mario Kart World. Alright folks, we've gone through and analyzed these very special tracks, but now it's time to put the Banana Cup against the other cups of the game. Now, just in case I say anything that may or may not be controversial, I want you guys to know that this is an opinion. This entire video and this final debate by proxy are not the set in stone factual answer that the Banana Cup is the best cup in Mario Kart World. This entire video is simply my explanation on why I think the Banana Cup is actually the best one of the list of cups that Mario Kart World has to offer. Now that I hopefully got that disclaimer out of the way, I don't think anyone's going to argue that the Banana Cup is better than the Mushroom, Flower, Star, and Shell Cups respectively. Each have their pros and cons, but ultimately I don't think it's crazy to say that the Banana Cup is the superior cup out of the four. By extension, we could also count the Lightning Cup in that list as well, as while Toad's Factory, Choco Mountain, and Bowser's Castle are all bangers. Moo Moo Medals? Yeah, I don't think so. Some might also debate that the Special Cup is the best one just because of Rainbow Road. The other tracks that it has to offer aren't on the same level for me to comfortably say that it's the best one. The only other choice for the best cup is obviously the Leaf Cup. And before I say anything, let's make it very clear. The Leaf Cup is genuinely an amazing cup, and if you still think it's better than the Banana Cup, I would not disagree with you at all. Yo, it's the editor here. What I really meant to say was I would respect your opinion. I did not mean to say that I would agree with you. The whole point of this video is me disagreeing with the idea that the Leaf Cup is the best cup. This is what the entire video has been leading up to. How is the Banana Cup compared to the Leaf Cup? Which cup is the real best one in Mario Kart World? All the tracks for both the Banana and Leaf Cup are awesome, and when combined together, they work really well. Yes, Cheap Cheap Falls and Dry Bones Burnout work as awesome starters and finishers, and on top of that, they're arguably better than Peach Beach and Great Question Block Ruins. However, things begin to switch up once we look at the middle half of the cups. Dandelion Depths is a good track for sure, definitely a B tier, but Salty Speedway, even with that ending, has more going for it in terms of both gameplay and visuals than Dandelion Depths. Again, it's just an opinion. And while I genuinely love Boo Cinema, it's not as good as Dino Dino Jungle. But obviously, if we were to go off of tracks alone, then maybe the Leaf Cup would be the definitive best cup in Mario Kart World. So now you might be wondering, what about the intermissions? Honestly, this is where I'm going to let you take your pick. The Leaf Cup has more highways towards the first few intermissions, but the final intermission is this awesome journey from Boo Cinema to Dry Bones Burnout. The Banana Cup, on the other hand, has no highways in it, but you have to drive on water way more frequently. However, something I have in favor of the Banana Cup is the fact that it uses more unique set pieces such as the dinosaurs and the vast amount of water. The gameplay on the Banana Cup intermissions are genuinely so much fun due to the different obstacles, whereas the Leaf Cup, while far from being the worst use of intermissions, has far less interesting obstacles. Yes, the Leaf Cup has way more obstacles like the Peepas, Moos, Thwomps, and plenty more, but oftentimes these enemies hardly add anything to fairly long intermissions, whereas the Banana Cup makes far better use of the obstacles it does have. This time, however, I'm going to let you take your pick. I know I'm going to go with the Banana Cup, but I'm sure some will prefer the Leaf Cup. Ultimately, the best cup in Mario Kart World is completely subjective to the player, but I hope I've made you think differently about the Banana Cup, for better or for worse. If I had to say a statement about why I think the Banana Cup is the best cup as a final stance on this specific take, I'd say that the Banana Cup is this awesome tropical journey that first takes you through the beach side and slowly but surely brings you more and more into the vast jungles. It features two very splendid GCN tracks that got some big changes to both of them. It features two Nitro tracks that are both immaculate in their own rights. And even with the flaws that are present in the Banana Cup, I genuinely think it's the best cup in Mario Kart World. Okay, I lied. My real winning argument is that it has dinosaurs. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this very long video, consider liking and subscribing. Seriously, it'll help me out a lot in the long run. And if you guys want to see more Mario Kart World content, it'd be a pretty good motivator. But with that said, I'm done for today. Goodbye. See you later. Also, in case anyone wanted to watch the full T-Rex edit, here it is.
Tyrannosaurus Rex.